We still might, mate. Yeah, you know, that's the question, isn't it? I love the fact, and thanks, Tom, apologies for sort of interrupting you, but I love the frenzy around finishing fifth this year. They're all brilliant, aren't they? We finished fifth last year. Why is it such a disaster that we finished fifth? And that's what you need to ask everyone and yourselves, is that why, in fact, around this time last year I was asked to lose a game. And I was wrong for wanting to win it. But we finished fifth last year, you know, but it's not a good story. The better story is that my tenure has been a disaster, and it continues to be. And, you know, I think, again, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just think that the kind of hysteria that's surrounding what's happening at the moment is all kind of premeditated for a certain outcome, and hopefully we can defy that.
I don't know if that's directed towards the media or fans or what, but
It wasn't directed towards fans, and there's a bit of irony there. I mean, do you guys not have a sense of humour?
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
like.
What I want to get at is I sometimes sense this them and us mentality,
Yeah.
as if people are against you, and I personally don't see that. I see a lot of celebration about the way you try and do things a bit differently compared to quote unquote a robotic nature of the Premier League. Where does this kind of sense, if I've got it right, there's them and us?
And you're right, because there are plenty of people, including Tottenham supporters, who I still see every day or bump into, who are very, very supportive, even though they're very disappointed with the year we've had, with what I'm trying to do. Absolutely, and it's not. I don't think I feel like it's them against me. It's more about the club. I'm trying to change the perception of the club, and I do think there is a narrative around the club that a lot of most of the time I'm not talking about you blokes who are here regularly, because I think you guys kind of know me a little bit better, but I think there is this narrative of trying to set this club up for some sort of fall consistently, and that there is no sort of allowance for any kind of building of foundations for something a bit different than before. The one thing you do know is what doesn't work here. So yes, I'm trying to do things very, very differently. Hasn't all worked out, for sure. Some of it's gone disastrously wrong. I accept that, but I said from the start I think we needed to chart a different course if we were ever going to break the cycle that this club's been in. Bizarrely, we're still in that kind of position where we can do that. I've never taken it personally. I've never taken it as against me, even if it was against me. But I think there is a kind of narrative around, that this club is on has been on a downward spiral again, or going down the same rabbit holes it has in the past, where I just think this is totally different, and there's been very little acknowledgement of that. And some of it's just, like I said, me poking the bear a bit as well, mate, which, like I said, I get, maybe it's my Aussie humour, but it certainly gets lost a great number of times when I say things tongue-in-cheek. But again, I think if people seriously think that I would say to our supporters, you've got to put up with me for a little bit longer, it's just madness. That was never ever going to be the case. No, look, no, I've been in this situation. I don't know, because I kind of. It's always funny, because after I've left clubs, usually they'll say, there's always a story about how I was close to, where that was in my first job, South Melbourne, like 30 odd years ago. There are famous stories about a board meeting getting cancelled, or I was supposed to get sacked, and now that's people telling me. I was oblivious to it, and maybe that's happened at, I don't know, whether Yokohama or Celtic, I don't know. But certainly the noise is greater. But again, I really think even that sort of noise is just there to kind of distract and take us away from what's important. I don't think there would be if you asked any Tottenham supporter what's the most important thing for them right now, who's going to be the manager next year or whether they win this thing, 100% of them would say, listen, just make sure we get ourselves the best opportunity to create some history. The rest of it doesn't matter. It'll all take care of itself. But the worst thing you can do is kind of focus on what may or may not happen and miss this unbelievable opportunity that's before us. We're in the final four of a European competition, which also, by the way, has Champions League qualification, which, again, there's a real frenzy around the place, but for us, apparently, it's not that important, even though it was important last year, and we finished fifth last year and we didn't get it. So that's where I get a little bit confused with everything that's going on. But I can assure you, Tom, from my perspective, there is nothing more in my thoughts than us being absolutely ready for Thursday. We've got a massive challenge, and for us to be ready Thursday, we've got to make sure we go into Sunday against Liverpool, really clear-headed about what kind of performance we need to put on to make sure we're ready for Thursday. I guess time will tell, I talk to the players a lot about the Stonecutter's Creed. Stonecutter's Creed. You know what that is? Yeah. Stonecutter, on the 101st blow, the rock cracks. But no one sees the other 100 blows. And they think it's the last one that does it. It's not. So time will tell whether what I've tried to do over the last 2 years gets us to crack that stone. If not, maybe I haven't. But you won't know that. And you won't know whether, how much I've sort of had an impact until we get to that place. Because, that's where we're at. We need to try and take the opportunity that's before us right now. And that won't happen because we're good for the next 2-3 weeks. That'll only happen if what's got us to this place gets us what we want.
And what do you feel has gone disastrously wrong, Ange?
Just, I think I said before, it just feels like a season where we've just been chasing everything, and every time we look like we're kind of, there's always, whether it's, we just haven't been able to gain any traction or momentum or get ahead of the curve in terms of, trying to establish a real footing in the league. Every time we make a couple of steps forward, it seems like, some of it's been self-inflicted in terms of, last week's a good point in case where we played really well, but our start was awful, so you lose another game, but it wasn't because we didn't play well, it's because we didn't get a great start. Other times it's just been stuff that's been out of our control, losing players with injury, with, key players for so it's just been, it just hasn't gone anywhere near as kind of, not to plan, because it never goes to plan, but like I said, where we felt like we're in a place where we can chart a course forward. And like I said, it seems like we've always been trying to plug holes here and there, or trying to get us to a certain place where we can, again, because within that context of everything that's happened in the league, we still had a very good Carabao Cup run, so there was still that to kind of, okay, we're up for that, then we gained some traction, but then the league sort of drags us down a bit again, and now it's in Europa. So, that it's fair to say that there's no other kind of way to describe our season in the league as one that has fallen well short of expectations. But as I said, there's still an opportunity there for us to do something special.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.